Hello and welcome to Maths with Jacob. This lesson will focus on Special 3D Objects, Part 1. There are many 3D objects in the real world, and many of them have important applications. Some of the more popular ones and some of their applications are as follows. This is a cube. It's very popular in the real world, and I think we've all seen it at some stage or another. The properties: the faces are made up of 6 equal squares. For example, there's the top face there, see? That's one square. Here's the side face here, and altogether there are 6 of them. Adjacent faces are at 90 degrees to each other. For example, those two faces there that I've just highlighted, they are at 90 degrees to each other, or at right angles. The applications, which means where do we see these in the real world? This is a die. Now a die is singular of dice. Dice can be 2, 3, 4 or more. That's the plural form. And this is used in many games, and I'm sure we've seen this object many times. This is the world famous Rubik's Cube, which is a wonderful puzzle, and it took the world by storm many years ago. The rectangular prism, you can see it's sort of like a box, isn't it? So it's a little bit long there, so it doesn't have to be the exact shape of this one. That part there can be a lot longer. And these here are rectangles, see? So there's a rectangle there, there's a rectangle there, and it's got some length. It's got some length about it. Properties: the faces of the rectangular prism do not need to be exactly the same. They are usually rectangular. Adjacent faces are at 90 degrees to each other, just like the cube. In the real world, the applications, we've all seen the tissue box, a perfect example. And also timber. Many pieces of timber are in the form of a rectangular prism. The square prism, there it is there, it's quite obvious what it looks like. The properties: similar to a rectangular prism, except that 2 of the opposite faces are squares. So this red one here, plus that one there which is opposite to that face, they are both squares, and that's why it's called a square prism. In the real world, there are many timber posts or beams used in construction. They're very strong, and depending on how they're used, if they're visible, they can be very attractive, but they're very practical and they have a lot of strength. Also the stools, that seat there, that's a square, and it also has length, and the shape of the down there, that's also a square, see? So that's got the shape of a square prism. So there are 2 applications. The triangular prism, you can see it quite clearly. Those 2 faces there, that one and this one, they're both triangles. That's why it's called a triangular prism, and then they're linked up by those lines. The properties: 2 opposite faces are triangles, the other 3 are rectangles. That's very obvious. The applications are very clear. We've all seen or experienced the tent. That has a very good approximation to the triangular prism, and also this cheese block here that we've seen many times, and there are many other objects in the real world which have that shape. The hexagonal prism, notice here we have a hexagon right there, and also at the back. And those 2 faces are joined together by lines. So with the properties, 2 opposite faces are hexagons, the other 6 are rectangles. The applications in the real world: we have all seen these pencils, whether they're coloured pencils or not. See how it's the shape of a hexagon there. And also the world famous nuts. These are used in all form of metalwork and engine construction. They're very strong, they're very powerful, and they're in the shape of a hexagon. That's the face, and then they've got some length there, and that's why they approximate a hexagonal prism. So this video has seen some very popular 3D objects and how they're used in real life.